I honestly don't get why everyone is acting like I did something unforgivable. Yes, I know how it looks. Yes, you met your ex on your anniversary. Yes, you hugged. Yes, your husband locked you out of the house and made you beg. People hear that and immediately jump to, she must be a monster. He's a saint. Poor husband. But that's not how it happened in my head. From my side, it was just coffee. On my anniversary, yes, but still just coffee. I told my husband I'd be back quickly. I told him it was nothing serious. He could have waited. He had the whole evening free. Instead, he decided to literally lock me out of my own house and make me kneel on the porch in my dress like some kind of stray animal. And somehow I'm the only bad guy in the story. Right. Let me be very clear about a few things before everyone rushes to judgment. I needed closure. My husband should trust me more. I wore a nice dress because I didn't want to look messy in public. The hug meant nothing. It's not my fault my ex still has feelings for me. Everyone acts like I left with a suitcase and a lover. No. I left the house for an hour. Okay, a little over an hour. To have coffee with someone who used to be important to me. That doesn't equal betrayal in my mind. Not automatically. I know the internet is dramatic. People love to scream emotional betrayal over every little thing. But there's a difference between actually cheating and just wanting to talk to someone who knew you before your life turned into routine and grocery lists. I'm going to tell you what happened, and maybe you'll still hate me. Or maybe you'll see that it's not as black and white as everyone is pretending. Because I swear, in the moment, it all felt like common sense. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. It started in the morning, our anniversary. I woke up, checked my phone, and saw I had 0 missed calls, 0 new messages, 0 anything. My husband, Daniel, was already in the kitchen. I could hear pots and pans clinking. He's that type, the I cook breakfast, I light a candle, I write a handwritten note type. Good guy, stable, predictable, also boring, suffocating when you've had too much of the same. I walked into the kitchen. He had set the table, 2 plates, scrambled eggs, toast, strawberries. A little folded note resting against my cup, like we were in some cheesy romantic movie. Happy anniversary, he said, smiling like a puppy. Happy anniversary, I answered, sitting down. I opened the note. It was sweet, handwritten. Something about how he was grateful for me, how this year had been hard, but he believed in us, how he'd booked a nice dinner and wanted to spend the whole evening together, just talking, reconnecting. He was so proud of himself for that. Reconnecting. Meanwhile, I already felt disconnected, not because he was awful, because he was safe to the point of feeling invisible sometimes. We had the kind of marriage where the days blur together. Work, home, laundry, the same takeout, the same Netflix shows. He'd ask, "How was your day?" And I'd say, "Fine," and we'd sit next to each other scrolling separately. He tried in his way. I tried in mine. But something felt flat. So when he told me about his big anniversary plan, dinner at home with candles, his playlist dessert, instead of feeling excited, I felt tired. This again. No new place, no surprise, no adrenaline. Just us at the same table, talking about the same things in slightly dimmer lighting. I booked us a table for 7, he said, and after I thought we could come back here. I got your favorite wine. We can just be together. Sounds nice, I said. I think I even smiled. But inside, there was this little voice going, "Is this it? This is my life now." The highlight of my year is pasta at the same restaurant and a scented candle. And then, around lunchtime, my phone buzzed. I glanced down expecting a work email. Instead, I saw his name. Lucas, my ex. We hadn't spoken in a long time, a year, more. We'd had the usual messy texts after the breakup, the half-closure conversations that went nowhere, a few boring, "How are you?" exchanges, and then silence. Until now. His message said, "Hey, I'm in town today, just for a day. Coffee?" Just that. Just coffee. My stomach flipped. I stared at the message for a good 30 seconds, brain screaming two opposite things at once. 1. Absolutely not. You are married. You have plans. 2. Coffee is not a crime. Calm down. Lucas and I were complicated, intense, messy, not stable, not safe. But he was the last person who made me feel truly, sharply alive. We used to fight and make up and fight again. We said ridiculous things, went on spontaneous trips, stayed out too late. It was chaos, but it was vivid. When I met Daniel, I told myself I was done with chaos. I wanted steady. I wanted someone who showed up when he said he would. I picked Daniel, and most days I believe I picked right. But when I read Lucas's text, something in me woke up. That little reckless thing that says, "Remember when people looked at you like you were the best thing in the room? Remember when someone knew every version of you, even the wild ones?" I wrote back, "Wow, long time. You're here today?" He answered almost instantly, "Yeah, business trip, leaving tomorrow. Just thought it'd be nice to catch up. No weirdness." No weirdness. Right. I looked at Daniel's note again, at the neat handwriting, at the words, "reconnect tonight." Then I typed, "I have plans this evening, but maybe I can do a quick coffee late afternoon." He replied, "Perfect. Name the place." And before I could stop myself, I wrote, "That cafe near the park. 4 p.m.? The cafe. The one we used to go to when we were still together. The one where we'd spent entire Sundays drinking coffee and pretending time didn't exist. I did think, maybe that's not the smartest idea. And then I thought, it's just nostalgia, that's all. I'm allowed to visit my own past without exploding my present. So I shut off that little warning and stuck with the nice, shiny justification. I needed closure. I told myself, I'll be gone for an hour, I'll be home by 6, change, go to dinner with Daniel, and everything will be fine. It sounded so reasonable in my head. Around 3, Daniel was straightening his shirt in the hall mirror, humming. "You're really into this, huh?" I said. He grinned at me. "Of course," he said. 5 years, Mia. I don't take that lightly. You getting ready soon?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, I, have to step out first. Just for a little bit." He turned around. "Step out?" he repeated. "What for?" "For an errand," I answered too quickly. I forgot I needed to return something before the receipt expires. Honestly, it was impressive how fast I lied. Something shifted in his expression. "Does it have to be now?" he asked. "Can't it wait until tomorrow? I kind of wanted to have the afternoon together too." "It won't take long," I said, waving my hand. "An hour, tops. You have the whole evening free, you can wait for me. Don't start without me, okay?" He looked disappointed. Just a little. Eyes going dim for half a second before he forced a smile. "Okay," he said slowly. "An hour." "I'll be back before you know it," I said. I put on my dress. Not some club dress, but not casual either. A dress that said, "I still care how I look when I walk down the street." I did my hair properly. Makeup too. If you asked me then why I was trying so hard, I would have said, I didn't want to look messy in public. It's my anniversary. I have standards. If you ask me now, I know the truth. I wanted to look good when Lucas saw me. I wanted him to think, wow, she still looks amazing. Someone else is lucky. I wanted that little hit of validation before going back to my nice, safe, predictable life. So, yeah. I dressed up for closure. When I left, Daniel hugged me at the door. "Don't be late," he murmured. I rolled my eyes. "I won't," I said, already halfway elsewhere in my head. The cafe was already half full when I walked in. I spotted him immediately. Lucas, at a corner table. Same smirk, same posture, same careless charm. He stood up, arms open. "There she is," he said. Happy anniversary, by the way. You look incredible. Thank you, I said, smoothing my dress like an idiot. You look the same. Rude, he laughed. Sit. I already ordered your usual, assuming you haven't changed that. That's thoughtful, I said, a little thrown. We started talking. The safe topics first. How's work? How's married life? What city are you in now? I kept my answers neutral. It's fine. It's stable. Yeah, we're okay. He watched me with that annoying, knowing look he always had when he thought I was lying. Stable, he repeated. That's the word you pick? It's a good word, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Is it? He asked. You used to run from stable. You used to call it being stuck. I grew up, I said automatically. He smiled. Clearly, he said. You're dressed like you have your life together and everything. I laughed more loudly than I should have. We slipped into old jokes, stories we'd told a dozen times. The kind you don't even have to finish because the other person already knows the ending. It felt easy. Too easy. I could feel myself glowing under the attention, under the way he listened, really listened, when I spoke. That was the line I repeated later to justify it. It felt nice that someone actually listened to me for once, as if Daniel never listened. He did, just not with this intensity, not with this hunger to dissect every word. Lucas leaned across the table at one point. Be honest, he said. Are you happy? I'm married, I said. That's not what I asked, he replied. I'm fine, I answered. We're good. He's good. He's stable, reliable. He doesn't forget my birthday. He doesn't disappear for days like some people. He winced. Okay, shot taken, he said. I deserved that. But you didn't use the word happy. That stuck in the air. I took a sip of coffee. Marriage isn't supposed to be fireworks all the time, I said. It's real life. Bills, work, grocery lists. You wouldn't last 5 minutes. Maybe, he said, but at least you'd never feel invisible. That line hit a little too close. I shrugged it off. You don't know anything about my life now, I said. True, he admitted. I don't. All I know is that you showed up. So? I asked. So, he smiled. You could have ignored my message. You could have sent a polite, sorry, busy. You didn't. He wasn't wrong. I didn't ignore it. I chose to come. We talked more. Time melted. The conversation turned from light to serious and back again, like it used to. He laughed at my jokes. He remembered tiny details I didn't even know I'd told him years ago. He said things like, I always knew you'd do that, and you were always like this. And suddenly I felt seen in a way that made me forget about everything else. Yes, it felt good. Yes, I liked it. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. At some point, he ordered wine. Just one glass, he said. We're adults. We can manage that, right? I hesitated. I shouldn't, I said. I have dinner later, and I said I'd be back in an hour. How long has it been? He asked. I checked my phone. An hour and a half, I said. See? He grinned. You're already late. Might as well be late and relaxed. That's not how that works, I protested, but I didn't stop him. He ordered the wine. I drank it, just one glass. Not enough to be drunk. Enough to be warm. Enough to blur the edges of guilt. Later, when I tell the story, I always emphasize, it was only a glass. I wasn't drunk. I didn't make drunk decisions. I knew exactly what I was doing. But I don't emphasize another part. I knew exactly what I was doing. And I did it anyway. Time kept slipping. My phone buzzed a few times with Daniel's name on the screen. I flipped it over, screen down. I told myself I'd answer in a minute. I didn't. When I finally checked the time again, 3.5 hours had passed. 3.5. I blinked at the numbers, my chest tightening. Wow, I said, I really need to go. So soon? Lucas asked. We just got started. I actually have a husband waiting for me, I said, trying to turn it into a joke. He looked at me oddly. Do you, though? He asked. What's that supposed to mean? I frowned. He shrugged. I don't know, he said. You seem more here than there. That annoyed me. I am there, I snapped. I'm going home now. This was nice. It was good to see you. But I'm not 22 anymore. I don't just float through life on vibes. Could have fooled me, he smirked. Outside the cafe, he walked me to the corner. We stopped. There was that weird, heavy moment where you know a hug is coming, but you're still pretending you're deciding. Take care of yourself, he said. You too, I replied. Then he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. I could have stepped back. I could have turned it into one of those awkward side hugs. I didn't. I let him hug me properly. His face was near my neck, his hands on my back. It wasn't a romantic embrace exactly, but it was not just friends either. I laughed nervously and patted his shoulder. Okay, that's enough, I said, pulling away. We separated. I told myself the hug meant nothing. I told myself husbands don't get to claim ownership over every single physical contact in their wife's life. I did not see the stranger across the street, phone raised, recording. I didn't know about the video until later. All I knew was that my heart was beating too fast and I was very, very late. When I got back to our street, it was already dark. Our house was lit from the inside, but the porch light was off. I walked up the path, fixing my hair, forcing a normal expression onto my face. Maybe I'd been gone longer than I said, but I'd come home. That counted in my mind. Then I saw him, Daniel, sitting on the front step, not pacing, not glaring, just sitting, elbows on his knees, phone in his hand, looking at nothing. Why are you outside? I asked, trying to sound casual. He looked up at me slowly. Because I didn't want to sit at a nicely set table by myself anymore, he said. Something in his voice made my stomach twist. You're being dramatic, I said automatically. I told you I had an errand. An errand, he repeated. Right. He reached into his pocket and unlocked his phone. I guess coffee is an errand now, he added. I froze. What? I said. He turned the screen around. There it was. The video. The cafe entrance in the background. Me and Lucas in grainy detail. Me accepting the hug. My hands on his back. The caption over the video. She's definitely not over her ex. I stared at it, mind blank for a second. Then everything rushed in at once. Embarrassment, anger, outrage that someone filmed me without my consent, fear, guilt. Someone sent me this, Daniel said, with, "Isn't this your wife?" written under it. I tried to speak. That ugly defensive impulse kicked in immediately. Wow, I said, crossing my arms. So now you're stalking me through videos strangers send. That's healthy. He stared at me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Is that really your first response? He asked. Not, I'm sorry. Not, this isn't what it looks like. Just, stop stalking me. It isn't what it looks like, I added quickly. It was just coffee. He hugged me. I didn't hug him. People love to exaggerate online. He rewound the video, paused it. Do you see this frame? He asked. Where your arms are clearly around him. That's a millisecond, I said. It doesn't mean anything. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You know people dramatize everything for views. He shook his head slowly. You left here saying 1 hour, he said. Do you know how long you were gone? 2 hours, I guessed, trying to minimize. 3.5, he replied. I checked. Over 3 hours. On our anniversary. It didn't feel that long, I said. We were talking. You lose track of time. It happens. With your ex, he added. So? I snapped. What? I'm not allowed to talk to anyone I dated before? Do they all vanish into space? His expression hardened. You can talk to whoever you want, he said quietly. But don't pretend you're not making choices. I am, I shot back. I chose to meet someone I used to care about for coffee. That doesn't erase the fact that I came home to you. He looked at the door, then back at me. You came home when you were finished, he said. Not when you said you would. There's a difference. I stepped closer to him. Can we please not do this on the porch? I hissed. The neighbors might hear. Let's go inside and talk like adults. He stood up slowly. I did want to talk inside, he said. When it was still before 7, before 8, before 9. He held up his phone. These are the messages I sent, he said. You didn't open them. I glanced. Everything okay? You still coming home soon? Mia, it's getting late. Are you all right? This hurts. I swallowed. I saw them, I muttered. I just didn't want to be on my phone the whole time. That's rude. You always tell me to be present when I'm with someone. With your husband, he said. I tell you to be present with your husband. Don't twist it, I snapped. I can't do anything right with you. If I hadn't answered my ex, you'd say I'm cold. If I do, I'm unfaithful. You're twisting everything, he replied. I never said you can't talk to people from your past. I said doing it on a day like this, lying to me about where you were going, staying for hours, letting him touch you. That's different. I didn't lie, I said. You told me you were running an errand, he replied. Were you returning old memories for store credit? That line stung. I glared at him. You know what, I said. If you trusted me, this wouldn't be a problem. You'd know that hug meant nothing. You'd know I would never cheat. He looked at me with this hollow, exhausted expression. I did trust you, he said. That's why this is a problem. Then he turned, walked to the door, and stepped inside. I followed. Wait, I said. We're not done talking. He closed the door. I reached for the handle. It didn't turn. I jiggled it, confused. Daniel, I called. Silence. I knocked. No answer. He'd locked it. He'd actually locked me out. What are you doing? I shouted, loud enough that my voice echoed on the porch. This isn't funny. Open the door. Nothing. I banged on the door with my fist. Daniel, open the door, I yelled. You're being ridiculous. His voice came through, muffled. Go away, he said. I scoffed. Go away, I repeated. From my own house? Silence. I switched tactics. Oh, so now you're going to give me the silent treatment, I snapped. Real mature. Nothing. I pounded harder. I'm not leaving, I warned. You cannot just lock your wife outside because you saw a stupid video no one would care about in a week. I came home. I didn't do anything wrong. I heard footsteps inside. His shadow crossed the frosted glass near the top of the door. Stop pretending this is normal, he said. Stop pretending you didn't do anything. What did I do? I fired back. Say it. I met someone for coffee. We hugged goodbye. That's it. You lied, he said. You lied about where you were going. You lied about how long you'd be gone. You lied by omission every time you told me you needed space, and then ran back to the person who made you feel special at my expense. Oh my God, I sighed dramatically. Not everything is about you. I needed closure. For me, you always think you're the center of every decision I make. You made today about him, he replied. Not me, not us, him. That's what hurts. I spent 3 hours with him, I snapped, and I came back to spend the rest of the night with you. How is that choosing him over you? You were supposed to spend all of tonight with me, he said, and you chose to carve out the piece that mattered most and give it to someone else. You had the whole evening free, I threw back. You could have waited. It's not like the food would disappear. I waited, he said. I waited until the food went cold, until the candles burned out, until the dessert melted, until the person who supposedly loved me more than anyone else on earth decided that I was worth coming home to. You're being dramatic, I repeated, because it was easier than saying, you're right. You keep saying that, he answered. Like if you slap the word dramatic on my feelings, they become invalid. I shoved my shoulder against the door. Open it, I demanded. I am not standing out here all night because you want to make a point. Inside, I heard the distinct final click of the deadbolt sliding into place. That sound hit my chest like a punch. You can't be serious, I whispered. I'm very serious, he said. You kept me locked out of your decisions tonight. I'm returning the feeling. Do you even hear yourself? I shouted, voice rising. This is insane. You're acting like I slept with him in a hotel somewhere. I had coffee, we talked. It's not like I did anything. He didn't answer. Say something, I yelled, hitting the door again. Don't just hide behind it like a coward. I'm not hiding, he said finally. I'm protecting myself. From you. That silenced me for a second. Then the anger came back, stronger. From me? I scoffed. What am I going to do, talk you to death? You love that. You love being the victim. Oh, look what my wife did. She ruined our perfect little night. Our night wasn't perfect, he said. It was sincere. There's a difference. I laughed bitterly. Wow, poetic, I taunted. Why don't you write that in your next little handwritten letter? My wife destroyed sincerity with coffee. I wrote you a letter this morning, he said quietly. You left it on the table when you went out. I guess closure with him was more urgent than reading it again. That one hurt. I tried to twist it anyway. I read it once, I said. What, you want me to frame it? Sleep with it under my pillow? Sorry I can't worship every word you write like scripture. Silence. The longer the silence stretched, the more my words started to feel hollow, mean in ways I didn't intend, like I'd stepped out of my body and watched myself become someone I didn't entirely recognize. Still, I refused to back down. To admit I'd done something terrible would mean accepting that I'd wrecked my anniversary with one decision. That was too big to face. So I clung harder to the easier story. It was just coffee. He overreacted. 20 minutes passed, then 30. My anger started to cool, replaced by discomfort. It was cold outside. A light wind slid under my dress. Goosebumps crawled up my arms. I knocked again, softer this time. Daniel, I said, trying a gentler tone. Come on, this is going too far. I'm cold. No answer. I tried the handle again. Pointless, still locked. I pressed my forehead against the door. Please, I said, can you just open it so we can talk like normal people? Still nothing. All I could hear was my own breathing and the distant noise of a car passing down the street. I turned, scanning the dark windows of nearby houses. Lights were on in a few. Curtains moved. I hated this. Not the situation, not yet, but the fact that other people might see me. I knocked again, louder. Daniel, they're going to think we're crazy, I hissed. Open the door, you're embarrassing me. Inside, I heard him sigh. You embarrassed yourself when you left me waiting to have dinner alone, he said. At least they didn't see that, I snapped. That's the problem, he replied. You only care about what they see. My throat tightened. That's not true, I protested. Isn't it? He asked. You didn't care what I'd feel watching that video. You cared that someone filmed it. You didn't care that I sat here with the table set and the candles burning. You cared that Mrs. Lee might see you in a dress on the front step. I flinched. Of course he'd noticed the curtain shift across the street. This, I said, voice breaking slightly, is not the same as a hug in a cafe. Let me in, Daniel, please. I hated that last word. Please. It made me feel small, weak. But the cold was creeping into my bones, and what else could I say? No answer. Okay, I tried again, leaning my shoulder into the door. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go that long. I didn't mean to hurt you. I should have told you who I was meeting. I get that. You're right. There. Are you happy? Silence. I'm sorry, I repeated louder. You win. You were the angel. I was the devil. Open the door so I can say it to your face. A pause. Then, I don't want you to apologize just to get inside, he said quietly. Fine, I snapped. I'm apologizing because I was wrong, okay? Is that good enough? He didn't answer. My eyes started to sting. From the cold, I told myself, not from anything as dramatic as feelings. My knocks turned into soft, pathetic little taps. Babe, I whispered, Please, it's freezing, my legs hurt. I can't stay out here all night. Minutes passed. Then the lock turned. The door opened just a fraction. I gasped, stepping forward automatically. He stopped me with his hand. In the other hand, he held something. A pillow. A folded blanket. For a second, my brain didn't compute. "What is this?" I asked, staring at them. "What it looks like," he said. "I told you I'm not letting you in tonight." My jaw dropped. "You're not serious," I said. "I am," he replied. "I meant every word. You're not coming inside this house tonight. But you're giving me—" I gestured at the pillow. "Camping gear." "I'm giving you enough not to get sick," he said flatly. "I'm not completely heartless, but I also won't pretend this house is still ours in the same way after what you chose today." Tears spilled over. "You're making me sleep outside," I said, "on the porch, on our anniversary." "You made me eat anniversary dinner alone," he said. "You made me feel like an idiot for lighting candles for a ghost. You made me watch a video of my wife hugging someone she needed closure with while she left my messages on read. We're both doing things we never thought we'd do today." "I came home," I insisted, "because it was all I had left. I came home to you. That matters." "It matters," he said, "but not enough to erase what you did first." He held out the pillow and blanket. I didn't take them. "I'm not doing this," I said. "I'm not going to sit out here like a punished child just because you want to feel powerful." He dropped them on the step instead. "Then don't use them," he said. "But I'm done arguing. I'm done begging you to care. Tonight, you can beg." "Beg for what?" I snapped, my voice completely cracking now. "Basic shelter." "Beg for what you treated like a default," he said. "Our home, our marriage, me." "I do care," I shouted. "Why else would I be here, crying on the doorstep?" "Because you have nowhere else to go," he replied. "If he had invited you to stay, would you be here right now? Or would I be getting a text about you needing space?" "That's not fair," I whispered. "Neither was tonight," he said, and his eyes were suddenly shiny too. For a second, we just stood there looking at each other through a gap in the door. Then he shook his head slightly, as if deciding something. "You can keep knocking if it makes you feel better," he said. "My answer is still no." He closed the door again. This time, I didn't hear the lock. I didn't need to. I knew. I don't know how to describe how long that night was. Time stretches differently when you're humiliated and shivering and angry and guilty all at once. At first, I refused to sit. I paced, arms wrapped around myself, glaring at the door like I could set it on fire. Then my feet started to hurt. So did my back. I slid down the door and sat on the step, dress pulling awkwardly around my knees. I stared at the pillow and blanket like they were part of a test. If I used them, I'd be admitting he'd won. If I didn't, I'd be freezing for no reason. Eventually, the cold made the choice for me. I snatched the pillow and shoved it under my head, pulling the blanket over my legs. I muttered curses under my breath the whole time, like that would protect my pride. Cars drove by occasionally. Once, someone walked their dog past our house. I pretended to be asleep when they glanced my way. Inside, I heard movement. Once or twice, water ran. Floorboards creaked, a chair scraped. Each little sound made me want to scream. "You're really just going to live your life in there while I'm out here like this?" But I stayed quiet. My anger had burned so hot it exhausted itself. All that remained was this heavy, exhausted numbness and a cold, hard thought in the center of my chest. Maybe I pushed too far this time. I still didn't fully accept that I'd done something truly wrong. In my mind, it was, I messed up on timing. I should have told him the truth. I should have gone home earlier. But the idea that meeting Lucas at all on that day was wrong. That felt too big to swallow, so I chewed around it. At some point, my phone buzzed. I grabbed it, heart in my throat, thinking maybe Daniel had texted. It was a notification from social media. Someone had tagged me in that video. Comments under it. "She's married? Girl, you're bold on your anniversary." Poor husband. I turned the screen off, then on again. Daniel's chat was still at the top. No new messages. I thought about texting him anyway. Something like, "I'm still outside. Can we please talk?" But I didn't. I slapped the phone face down next to me. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing me beg in writing too. Around 3 or 4 in the morning, my body gave up. I dozed fitfully, waking up every time a car door slammed somewhere or a dog barked. Every time I woke, I had a second of disorientation. Why am I here? Why am I on the ground? Then it came back. The cafe, the hug, the video, the locked door, the pillow, the blanket, my closure, my harmless coffee. By the time the sky started to lighten, my whole body hurt. My neck was stiff, my fingers numb. I pulled the blanket tighter and closed my eyes again, pretending I was anywhere else. The door finally opened with a soft creak. I jerked awake, heart slamming against my ribs. Daniel stood there, hair messy, eyes tired. He looked at me for a second. Not with triumph, not with pity, just sad. "You can come in now," he said quietly. "Now?" I croaked. My voice sounded wrecked. "Now it's okay?" "I'm not going to leave you out here in daylight," he replied. I made my point. "Oh, congratulations," I snapped, standing up, my legs shaking. "You made your point. You proved you can be colder than I thought. Do you feel better?" He didn't answer that. He stepped aside so I could walk in. The house was quiet. The table was still set, but the plates were empty. The candles were burned down to misshapen lumps. The gift he'd wrapped sat unopened on the sideboard. I moved past it without touching. I didn't want to feel guilty about it, not on top of everything else. In the kitchen, he poured himself coffee. "Do you want some?" he asked out of habit, then shook his head and set down only one mug. We stood there in silence for a moment. "Are you proud of yourself?" I asked finally. "You really made me beg to get into my own home. You really made me sleep outside, on our anniversary." He looked up slowly. "Are you proud of yourself?" he countered. "You really walked out to meet your ex. On our anniversary. You really left me waiting alone while you laughed with someone you needed closure from." He had a point, obviously. I hated that he had a point, so I focused on the part that felt more dramatic. "What you did was cruel," I said. "You could have handled this like a grown man, talked to me, yelled at me, whatever. But locking me out, that's humiliating." "What you did was cruel," he said calmly. "You could have told me the truth. You could have honored the day. You could have met him any other time, or not at all, but you chose yesterday. And then you chose to lie." "I didn't lie," I insisted again, weaker now. "I said I had to go out. That was true." "You omitted everything that mattered," he replied. "That's lying in a nicer outfit." I rolled my eyes. "You're enjoying this," I said, "playing the noble victim. Everybody online will side with you. They always do." He frowned. "Is that what you think this is about?" he asked. "Public opinion? A narrative?" "What else would it be?" I asked. "You put me on display. You wanted me to look pathetic." "I wanted you to feel what I felt," he said, "locked out of something that was supposed to be yours." "You still didn't have to make me beg," I said, voice rising again. "You could have let me in and then told me to leave. You could have said, 'Pack your things.' You didn't have to do the whole theater." He looked at me for a long moment. "You're right," he said slowly. "I didn't have to. But last night, I wasn't interested in doing the gentlest version of anything. I was interested in the most honest version." "And the honest version is humiliating me?" I asked. "The honest version is that you were more invested in seeing your ex than respecting our marriage," he replied. "The honest version is that you don't get to come home hours late, full of nostalgia, and expect to just slide back into comfort without any resistance." I folded my arms. "So what now?" I asked. "You lock me out emotionally forever? You sleep in the spare room? We pretend we're roommates?" "I don't know yet," he said. "I just know I can't go back to normal. like this didn't happen. I wanted to say, fine, then leave. But the word stuck. I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want to be divorced. I didn't want to be the woman who destroyed her marriage over coffee. So instead, I went with my usual comfortable half-admission. I messed up yesterday, I said. I shouldn't have stayed so long. I shouldn't have ignored your messages. I'll admit that, but I still don't believe I deserve to sleep outside like a stray dog. I don't think a good husband would do that, I added, for extra sting. He closed his eyes briefly. A good husband, he said quietly, deserves a wife who doesn't run to her ex for excitement on their anniversary. I didn't have an answer for that, so I defaulted to the line that still makes sense to me, even now, even after everything. I didn't cheat, I said. I just needed closure. Silence. He picked up his coffee and walked out of the kitchen. That was it. No big speeches, no ultimatums, just distance. When I tell people what happened now, I notice which parts I emphasize. I say, on our anniversary, I met my ex for coffee. I add quickly, I told my husband I'd be out. I didn't sneak out at night. It wasn't some secret hotel. I continue. My ex hugged me. Someone filmed it, sent it to my husband. He flipped and locked me out of the house. Made me sleep on the porch with a blanket like I was garbage. I always end with, honestly, I don't think I deserved that. Yes, I met my ex. Yes, we talked, but I came home, didn't I? A good husband would have let me in. Sometimes I throw in, he made me beg. He wanted to see me humiliated. That's not love in my book. People react differently. Some say, well, you kind of asked for it. Others say, wow, your husband sounds controlling. I cling to the second group. I tell myself, I ruined my own anniversary a little, sure. But he didn't have to go nuclear. He didn't have to make me beg. Do I know deep down that it was more than a little? Maybe. Do I know that meeting my ex on that particular day, lying about it, staying for hours, ignoring the man who was waiting at home hurt more than I admit? Probably. But if I let myself fully accept that, then I have to admit that I wasn't some misunderstood wife who just needed closure. I'd have to admit I was reckless, selfish, cruel even in my own quiet way. And I don't know how to live comfortably with that version of me yet. So I keep the story framed the way I like it. I went out with my ex on my anniversary. My husband overreacted. He locked me out. He made me beg. And if anyone asks, I repeat, with the same stubborn certainty as the first night. I didn't cheat. I just needed closure. He's the one who turned it into a punishment.